Hey, today we're going to be adding cloud shadows into our scene for Unreal Engine. To do this, you won't need anything exterior, no starter content. You don't need to download anything. So let's get into it. What you will need is a directional light somewhere in your scene. It'll work with any light, really, but what we're really going to want is a directional light for this one. So I've got one here. And just a basic scene setup. Again, you can do this in any scene, whatever you got going already. So to start, we're going to create a material and just call it clouds. Open this up. And to get this working with light, we're going to need to go over here to details and set our our material domain to light function. This is going to give us one entry in the output here. So with light functions, they basically it's basically a mask in itself. So we're only going to have one output. So to start off, we're going to add in a texture node. You can either right click and type a texture or hold T and click. You get a texture. And you can use your own texture if you have it, but today we're going to be using, or I'm going to be using one from the engine content, which should already be in your project just by default. So if you go to texture and we just search cloud, the one that I'm going to use is this one here. So you can go ahead and click on that, and let's change this just so we can see what we're working with. If you right click and then start preview, it'll preview whichever node you're on. So we have this basic cloud texture here. So first up, we want to add some movement to it. This isn't necessary if you just want static clouds, but to do that, we're going to want to add in a texture coordinate node. You can either type in texture coordinate or hold U and click. And I'll put that in. So first off, we're going to multiply this, and this will basically be our size of our clouds. And we're going to add in a parameter. So we're going to hold S and left click, and then we're going to call this a scale and plug that in. And we're going to set our default to 0.1, I think is what I was using before. And then we're going to add in a panner node. Hold P and left click to add that. And we're going to plug that into the coordinate. So what a panner node does is it basically moves your texture across the material. And it takes in coordinate, time, and speed. So we want to add in our coordinate, which we've done, and then we also want to give it a speed. So, and the speed is, it needs an X and a Y. So we're going to create those real quick. So hold S again, add another one. We're going to do a speed X and a speed Y. And we're going to multiply these together. And that'll go into our speed. Now we're going to plug our output from our panner here into our UVs. And we should be able to see if we give these a default value of 1, let's say. You can see that they start moving very quickly in there, so we can change. Let's knock this down to 0.1. So we can see we've got something going here. What I've noticed about this texture is it's a little bright for what we're doing, so I'm just going to darken that. This might not apply for whatever texture you're using, but if we just divide this by 2. That's fine. We'll see what we get. If we stop previewing this, let's just see what we get here. So it's a little bit darker, and this was working good for me earlier. Alright, so now what I like to do is take a duplicate of this, and this will basically act as like a second layer on top of it to kind of give the clouds sort of a nice dispersed look to them. It kind of, if we have another layer with a different scale and speed, it gives it more of a natural look. And you can add in a different texture here too for some different results, but I'm going to keep it the same texture for now, but I am going to change the parameters. So I'm going to duplicate all that, and I'm just going to change all these to B. You could even add a third texture layer too if you wanted to, but we're just going to do 2 for today. So we've got an A and a B going on here. And so we're going to take these two, and we're just going to multiply them together. This is basically going to overlay them on top of each other. And I'm going to set these to a slightly different value. I'm going to do 0.14 or something like that. And then for speed, type in, I don't know, something like this just to start us off. And then we can mess around with all this later. I'll show you. So yeah, we're gonna multiply those two together, and then I'm gonna create us another multiply, and this will just multiply everything together. So I'm gonna create another parameter, and I called it lightness before, and we're just gonna set this to 1 as default, and then we can change this depending on how bright we want it, basically. And then we're going to add one more node, which is the lerp, and this is going to lerp between what we're outputting here, and then I'm going to, if you hold 1 and left click, you'll get just another node here, and we're going to set the value of this to 1. So basically in material world, 1 just means pure white, basically. So what a lerp node does is it interpolates between your two inputs, so 1 being pure white and our cloud texture. And what pure white will give us is no clouds, basically. It'll be just white, which will mean the sun just shines through. So if this were 1, it would be pure white, and if it was all the way on the B, it would be our clouds. So we're going to add in another parameter here, and we're going to just call this opacity. So whatever we put in here, we're going to set that to 1 by default. It'll change how much of our cloud texture is showing through. And then finally, we're going to plug that in, and we should be all set to go. Save that. Here it is. If you want to screenshot this or just take some time to copy it over to your project, go ahead. And then now we're going to go back here. We're going to right click on our clouds, and we're going to hit create material instance. And then we're going to take this material instance, we're going to go to our directional light, and then we're going to scroll down to light function. And we see this light function material here. So we can just drag and drop this straight on here, and boom, we've got some clouds, nice cloud shadows going. And we can take this a step further if you double click and open this up. And we'll bring this up. You can now see in our material instance, we have all of these variables that we made earlier. So we can go ahead and mess with these if we want. So I kind of want the clouds to be a little bigger maybe. So if you reduce this, maybe we get some bigger clouds in. It's a little better. Maybe we can drop the speed down a tiny bit for both of these. It's all however you want it to look. And then we have our lightness here. I'm just going to leave that at 1. And then we have opacity. And again, this just changes how much of our clouds we want to see. I'm going to leave it on, let's try 0.95 maybe a little more. Something like that. And you can dial this in however you want. Play with it. But yeah, now we got some nice cloud shadows going on. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments about this or about anything else, leave that in the comments section. Yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.